The Stolen Focus by Johann Hari. The War for Your Attention, How to Win It Back. Have you ever found yourself reaching for your phone without even thinking, only to look up an hour later wondering where the time went? Or perhaps you've sat down to read a book, a beloved pastime, only to find your mind flitting away like a restless butterfly, unable to settle on the words. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. In fact, you're part of a global phenomenon, a silent crisis that's chipping away at our ability to think deeply, to concentrate, and ultimately, to live fully. Welcome to this special audiobook review, where we'll embark on a journey through the illuminating pages of Stolen Focus, Why You Can't Pay Attention, and How to Think Deeply Again, by the acclaimed author Johann Hari. In this audiobook, we'll explore together why your focus feels like it's under siege, and more importantly, we'll uncover how to reclaim that precious deep thinking you might feel you've lost. This isn't just about getting more done. It's about reconnecting with what truly matters, finding that calm, clear space for your thoughts to flourish, and ultimately, living a less diminished, more intentional life. Ready to discover how? Meet the investigator, Johann Hari. Now, who is Johann Hari, the guide on this critical exploration? Johann Hari is a New York Times best-selling author, and his words have resonated across the globe, translated into 37 languages. He's known for his deep-dive investigative journalism, tackling complex subjects with both rigor and profound empathy. His previous works, like Chasing the Scream, which explored the war on drugs, and Lost Connections, which uncovered the real causes of depression, have been praised by a spectrum of influential figures, from Oprah Winfrey to Noam Chomsky. Hari isn't just an academic, he's a storyteller who makes complex science accessible and deeply personal. For Stolen Focus, he embarked on an extensive 30,000-mile journey, interviewing over 250 experts, from leading neuroscientists and social scientists to Silicon Valley defectors, who helped build the very technologies now vying for our attention. He doesn't just present research, he lives it, even undertaking a 3-month digital detox to understand the crisis firsthand. This commitment to both investigative depth and personal experience makes Stolen Focus not just informative, but a truly transformative read for anyone feeling the strain of our hyper-distracted world. The book itself became an instant New York Times and international bestseller, sparking a global conversation about attention and its importance. So, what if the struggle to pay attention isn't entirely your fault? What if there are powerful external forces actively working against your ability to focus? And what if, by understanding these forces, we can start to push back? That's precisely what we're about to explore. The unseen battle, our vanishing focus. Imagine this. You're at Graceland, a place you've longed to see since childhood. But instead of soaking in the jungle room, you find yourself and everyone around you glued to an iPad guide, swiping left and right to see digital images of the room you're physically standing in. This isn't a far-fetched scenario, it's a real experience Johann Hari shares with his godson Adam. It's a potent metaphor for our times. We're physically present, yet mentally absent, our attention hijacked by screens even in moments that should be deeply engaging. Hari noticed this fracturing not just in his godson, who spiraled from a joyful, Elvis-singing kid into a teen lost in a blur of YouTube and porn, but also in himself. The sensation of life in the early 21st century, he felt, was that our ability to focus was cracking and breaking. Sound familiar? And here's the crucial point. This isn't just a feeling. Scientists are observing it. One study found American college students switch tasks on their computers every 65 seconds, with the median time spent on any one thing being just 19 seconds. Adults in offices? They fare a little better, staying on one task for an average of 3 minutes. If you're interrupted while focusing, it can take an average of 23 minutes to get back to that same state of focus. Most office workers, a study found, never get an hour of uninterrupted work in a typical day. This isn't a personal failing, Hari argues. It's a systemic problem. He compares it to the obesity epidemic. It's not that we suddenly became greedier, our food environment changed. Similarly, we're living in what Professor Joel Nigg calls an attentional pathogenic culture, an environment where sustained focus is incredibly hard to achieve. The speed trap, more information, less depth. So what's one of the biggest culprits? It's the sheer increase in speed, switching, and filtering our brains are forced to do. Professor Sune Lehmann in Denmark conducted a massive study analyzing everything from Twitter trends and Google searches to movie ticket sales and even the frequency of topics in books going back to the 1880s. And the finding? Our collective attention span is shrinking. Topics trend faster and disappear faster. We are, as Lehmann puts it, drinking from a fire hose of information. Think about it. In 1986, the average human processed information equivalent to 40 newspapers a day. By 2007, that figure skyrocketed to 174 newspapers. And what are we sacrificing for all this information? Depth. Depth in our work, in our relationships, in our thinking. It takes time and reflection to achieve depth, and our current pace is pulling us relentlessly to the surface. Are you starting to see how this isn't just about willpower? The myth of multitasking. Many of us believe we're master multitaskers. We check emails while on a call, scroll social media while watching TV. But what if I told you that, according to neuroscientists like Professor Earl Miller from MIT, the human brain is actually terrible at multitasking? Here's the truth. Your brain can only consciously produce one or two thoughts at once. When you think you're doing several things simultaneously, you're actually juggling, rapidly switching your attention back and forth. And this constant switching comes with significant costs. First, there's the switch cost effect. Every time you switch, your brain has to reconfigure, remember what you were doing, and what you thought about it. This makes your performance drop. You become slower. One study even found that just receiving emails and phone calls caused a drop in workers' IQ by an average of 10 points. In the short term, that's twice the cognitive hit you get from smoking cannabis. Second, there's the screw-up effect. When you switch tasks, errors creep in because your brain can't perfectly backtrack and pick up where it left off. You spend more time correcting errors and less time in deep, meaningful thought. Third is the creativity drain. New ideas often come from your brain, making novel connections between things it has absorbed. If your brain is constantly switching and error correcting, it has less opportunity for this associative magic to happen. And fourth, the diminished memory effect. It takes mental energy to convert experiences into memories. If that energy is spent switching, you'll remember less. So constantly switching means you're slower, make more mistakes, are less creative, and remember less. And how often are we doing this? The average office worker is distracted roughly every 3 minutes. It's like we're trying to drive a car with someone constantly yanking the steering wheel. Not very effective, is it? The lost art of flow. But there's a state of mind, a powerful antidote to this scatteredness. It's called flow. Have you ever been so absorbed in an activity that time just melts away? Your sense of self vanishes, and you're completely one with what you're doing? That's flow, and it's the deepest form of focus we know. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the psychologist who pioneered this research, discovered flow not by studying people relaxing, but by observing artists, rock climbers, chess players, people engaged in challenging, meaningful activities. So how do you tap into this state? Csikszentmihalyi identified 3 core components. Choose a clearly defined goal. You need to be monotasking, doing one thing. Do something meaningful to you. Our brains are wired to pay attention to what matters to us. Engage in something at the edge of your abilities, but not beyond them. Too easy, you'll go on autopilot. Too hard, you'll become anxious. When you achieve flow, your ego seems to vanish. You merge with the task, and these moments often become the highlights of our lives. But here's the catch. Flow is fragile and easily disrupted. Our current culture, with its constant interruptions and surface-level stimuli, is actively crippling our flow states. Hari realized during his digital detox that to recover from distraction, it's not enough to just strip away the noise. You need to replace it with sources of flow. Interesting, isn't it, how the solution isn't just about less distraction, but more meaningful engagement. The unseen thieves: exhaustion, poor diet, and a toxic environment. What if the battle for your attention isn't just fought on your screens, but also in your body and your environment? Johann Hari uncovers several crucial factors here. First, the rise of physical and mental exhaustion. Many of us are chronically sleep deprived. In the US, 40% get less than the minimum 7 hours a night. Since 1942, the average sleep time has been slashed by an hour a night. Why does this matter for focus? When you're tired, says sleep expert Dr. Charles Cheisler, parts of your brain can lapse into local sleep even when you're awake. You think you're alert, but you're not. Stay awake for 19 hours straight, and your cognitive impairment is similar to being drunk. And this isn't just extreme deprivation. Missing a couple of hours a night consistently for a week or two has the same effect. Sleep is when your brain cleans itself of metabolic waste, brain cell poop, as one expert calls it. Without enough sleep, you're literally clogged with toxins, and your ability to focus plummets. Then there's our deteriorating diet. Nutritionist Dale Pinnock explains that much of our modern diet, high in refined carbs and sugar, causes energy spikes and crashes. That brain fog you feel mid-morning? That's often a blood sugar crash. Moreover, ultra-processed foods often lack the essential nutrients our brains need to function optimally. Studies have shown that when children switch from a junk food diet to one with whole foods, their attention can improve dramatically. Some food additives and dyes have also been linked to hyperactivity. And what about rising pollution? Professor Barbara Demoneix, a leading scientist in France, warns that pollutants in our air and products can affect brain development and attention at every stage of life. Living in a polluted city can cause chronic inflammation in the brain, damaging nerve cells over time. The historical example of leaded gasoline, which stunted focus and lowered IQs for generations before it was banned, shows just how potent these environmental toxins can be. Could today's chemical soup be doing something similar? It's a sobering thought, isn't it? That things we often overlook, our sleep, our food, our air, are silently shaping our ability to pay attention. The architects of distraction. How technology is designed to hook you now. Let's turn to the elephant in the room. Technology. But here's the kicker Hari uncovers. It's not just the existence of smartphones and the internet that's the problem. It's how they are designed. Johann Hari introduces us to tech insiders like Tristan Harris, a former Google design ethicist, and Asa Raskin, the inventor of Infinite Scroll. These are people who were in the control rooms, shaping the tech that a billion people use daily. And what did they learn? That much of our current technology operates on a business model called surveillance capitalism. Here's how it often works. These companies make more money the longer you stay on their platforms. They achieve this in two main ways. First, the more you look, the more ads you see. Second, and more subtly, every click, every search, every message helps these companies build a detailed voodoo doll model of you. This model predicts your behavior, your preferences, your vulnerabilities. This data is then sold to advertisers or used to feed you content that keeps you scrolling and scrolling. Asa Raskin, reflecting on his invention of Infinite Scroll, calculated that it contributes to 200,000 human lifetimes per day being spent just scrolling, time that could be spent on anything else. This is why, Tristan Harris explains, these platforms often prioritize what's engaging, i.e., keeps you on screen, over what's truly beneficial for you. And what's often most engaging? Outrage, anger, division. Studies show that moral outrage boosts retweets, and posts with indignant disagreement get more likes and shares. So, algorithms designed to maximize engagement inadvertently end up amplifying negativity. The scary part? Insiders like Sean Parker, an early Facebook investor, admit these techniques exploit vulnerabilities in human psychology, and they did it consciously. It's not your fault you can't focus, it's by design. Your distraction is literally their fuel. But here's the crucial insight from Harris and Raskin. It doesn't have to be this way. Technology could be designed to respect our attention, to help us achieve our goals, to connect us in meaningful ways offline. The real debate isn't pro-tech versus anti-tech. It's what kind of tech, designed for what purpose, and in whose interest. Are you ready to think about how we can change the design? Reclaiming our children's focus, the power of play. What about our children? Diagnoses of ADHD have soared. While Hari acknowledges biological contributions for some, he urges us to look at the profound changes in childhood itself. Consider this. For almost all of human history, children played freely, outdoors, unsupervised. That's how they learned creativity, problem-solving, negotiation, resilience, and how to manage their own attention by pursuing what interested them. Today, childhood largely happens indoors, often mediated by screens or rigidly structured by adults. By 2003, only 10% of U.S. children spent regular time playing freely outdoors. Schools, too, have shifted, with an intense focus on standardized testing, squeezing out time for play and free inquiry. Lenore Skenazy, dubbed America's worst mom for letting her 9-year-old son ride the subway alone, champions the idea of free-range kids. She argues that this deprivation of free play and independence contributes to rising anxiety and a diminished ability for children to develop intrinsic motivation, doing things because they are meaningful and interesting, which is key to sustained attention. Programs like Let Grow, which encourage schools to assign homework where kids do something new and independent, are showing incredible results. Children who were previously disengaged are finding passions, building things, and, in the process, developing deep focus. Think about Finland, a country with one of the top education systems globally. Children there don't start formal schooling until age 7. Before that, it's all play. They have minimal homework, few tests, and legally mandated free play every 45 minutes of instruction. The result? Only 0.1% of Finnish kids are diagnosed with attention problems, and they rank high in literacy, numeracy, and happiness. This suggests that when children's needs for play and autonomy are met, their attention thrives. Beyond personal willpower, the case for systemic change. So, you've learned about the science of flow, the myth of multitasking, and the environmental factors eroding your focus. You might be thinking, okay, I just need more self-discipline. And while individual changes are vital, Johann Hari discovered something profound during his journey, especially after his own digital detox. Personal responsibility, while important, can only take you so far in a system designed to hijack your attention. This is where the concept of cruel optimism comes in. Coined by historian Lauren Berlant and highlighted by Professor Ronald Purser, it's when big systemic problems, like obesity or attention deficits, are presented with simplistic individual solutions. It sounds optimistic. Just try harder, meditate more, use this app. But it's cruel because it ignores the deeper environmental causes, setting most people up for failure and self-blame. Remember the obesity epidemic? It wasn't solved by diet books alone, because the food environment itself had become toxic. Similarly, telling people to just push the fucking button to turn off notifications, as one tech figure suggests, overlooks the thousands of engineers working to make those notifications irresistible. What's the alternative to cruel optimism? Authentic optimism, acknowledging the systemic issues and fighting collectively to change them. Hari proposes an attention rebellion with bold goals. Ban surveillance capitalism. If tech companies can't profit from hijacking your attention, their incentives change. They'd have to offer services you'd willingly pay for, services that genuinely improve your life and focus. Introduce a 4-day workweek. Chronically exhausted people can't focus. Experiments show that shorter workweeks can increase productivity and massively improve well-being and focus. This includes the right to disconnect. Legal protection from work emails and calls outside of defined hours, already law in France. Rebuild childhood around free play. These changes sound huge, perhaps even impossible. But Hari reminds us of the feminist movement, the fight for LGBTQ+ rights, the environmental movement. Forces that seemed insurmountable were challenged and changed by ordinary people banding together. It's not naive to believe we can change things. It's naive to think we can do nothing while powerful forces continue to erode our attention. Your attention is your light, a call to reclaim it. So, what have we learned on this journey through stolen focus? We've learned that our dwindling attention isn't a simple case of weak willpower or the mere existence of new gadgets. It's a complex crisis fueled by an increase in the speed and volume of information, the pervasive myth of multitasking, the crippling of our natural flow states, chronic exhaustion and sleep deprivation, deteriorating diets that fog our brains, rising pollution that inflames them, the pervasive influence of technology designed to track and manipulate us for profit, a crisis in sustained reading, the disruption of crucial mind-wandering, the rise of stress and vigilance that keeps our brains on high alert, and the confinement of our children, stunting their natural development of focus through play. We've learned that individual changes, while valuable, are often insufficient against these systemic pressures. The path forward involves both reclaiming our individual focus through practices like monotasking, seeking flow, managing our tech use with tools like case safes and freedom apps, prioritizing sleep, and allowing for mind wandering. But crucially, it also means joining a collective attention rebellion to demand systemic changes. Now, to see if these ideas have really sunk in, I have a few questions for you. Remember the concept of flow states? Can you recall one activity in your life where you experience flow, and what's one small step you could take this week to cultivate more of it? We talked about how multitasking is largely a myth, and the switch cost effect drains our mental energy. What's one common way you find yourself switching tasks, and how could pre-commitment help you reduce that? The book discusses how the current design of social media often amplifies anger and outrage. Can you think of a time you felt that negativity bias at play, and what might a humane tech alternative look like for you? And finally, considering the importance of free play for children's attention, if you have young people in your life, what's one way you could help them experience more unstructured, independent play? These aren't just rhetorical questions, they are invitations to begin the journey of reclaiming your attention, and by extension, the attention of those around you. This is not a battle that will be won overnight. It requires us to value our attention as the precious resource it is, the light that allows us to see the world, to achieve our goals, and to connect with each other. It's the spotlight for our immediate actions, the starlight for our long-term goals, and the daylight that helps us figure out who we are and where we want to go. Don't let that light be stolen. Don't stop here. Continue your journey of growth. Start by taking one small step today to protect your focus, and then another tomorrow. And perhaps, join with others to demand a world that helps us all to think deeply again. Because, as Hari concludes, in a world facing unprecedented challenges like the climate crisis, we must focus together, or we will indeed face the fires alone.